Welcome to Versus, the best career comparison channel. Two artists, two careers, and only one winner. In this video, we will compare the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Who sold more copies? 1 decade Beatles or 6 decades Stones? Which song was more popular on the charts? Hey Jude or Satisfaction? And who is really the greatest band of all time? The Beatles began in Liverpool, England in the late 1950s. The group's core was formed when John Lennon, then 16, created a skiffle band called the Quarrymen in 1957. He soon met Paul McCartney, who joined the group after impressing Lennon with his guitar skills. In 1958, George Harrison, a talented young guitarist introduced by McCartney, also joined. By 1960, the group evolved into a rock and roll band, going through several name changes before settling on the Beatles. That same year, they began performing in Hamburg, Germany, where they honed their sound through intense, long-hour gigs in nightclubs. These Hamburg sessions were crucial in shaping their musical style and tight live performances. Pete Best was the drummer during this early period, but he was replaced by Ringo Starr in 1962, just before the group recorded their first hit. With their final lineup set, Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, and Starr, the Beatles signed with EMI Records under producer George Martin, marking the start of their professional recording career and rise to international fame. The Rolling Stones began in the early 1960s in London, England. The founding members, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, and Brian Jones, were brought together by a shared love of American blues and rock and roll. They started out playing covers of blues artists like Muddy Waters and Chuck Berry in small clubs. Their first official performance as the Rolling Stones took place on July 12, 1962 at the Marquee Club in London. The band was managed early on by Andrew Loog Oldham, who shaped their rebellious image to contrast with the clean-cut Beatles. In 1963, drummer Charlie Watts and bassist Bill Wyman joined the group, solidifying the classic lineup. They signed with Decca Records and released their first single, a Chuck Berry cover, in 1963, followed by their self-titled debut album in 1964. Their sound and attitude helped define the British invasion and laid the foundation for one of the most enduring careers in rock history. The Beatles' first major success came in 1962 with the release of their debut single, Love Me Do. Though it only reached number 17 on the UK charts, it marked the beginning of their rise. The real breakthrough came in early 1963 with the release of Please Please Me, which hit number 1 on several UK charts. This success was followed by the album Please Please Me in March 1963, which topped the UK albums chart for 30 weeks. Their energetic performances, charming personalities, and fresh sound sparked Beatlemania across Britain, setting the stage for their global dominance. The Rolling Stones' first major success came in 1964 with their cover of It's All Over Now, which became their first number 1 hit in the UK. Around the same time, their energetic performances and rebellious image made them stand out in the British rock scene, positioning them as the edgier alternative to the Beatles. That same year, their debut album, The Rolling Stones, topped the UK charts, fueled by their rhythm and blues roots. Their early hits like Not Fade Away and Time Is On My Side also found success in the US, helping launch their international fame. By late 1964 and into 1965, they were becoming a global sensation, kicking off the British invasion of America alongside other British bands. The Beatles have released 13 studio albums, with sales in the US of over 183 million units and over 600 million units worldwide, making them the best-selling artists in US history. 11 of their 13 studio albums reached number 1 on the UK albums chart. All 13 studio albums charted on the Billboard 200. With 19 US number 1 albums includes studio and compilations. Number 3, The White Album, 1968. Released on November 22, 1968, the album was number 1 in both the UK and US for multiple weeks. It spent 9 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard 200. It has sold over 24 million copies worldwide. It has been certified 24 times platinum with sales of over 12 million units in the US. It contained hit singles like While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Back in the USSR, and Blackbird. The album marked a shift to a more personal, raw, and diverse musical style. It explored a wide range of genres: folk, rock, avant-garde, blues, and proto-metal, and pushed the boundaries of album creativity and individual artistry within a band. Number 2, Abbey Road, 1969. Released on September 26, 1969. The album reached number 1 in the UK for 17 weeks, and number 1 on Billboard 200 for 11 weeks. It has sold over 31 million copies globally and has been certified 12 times platinum in the US. It features iconic tracks like Come Together, Something, and Here Comes the Sun. The album is known for its immaculate production and use of synths and medley structure, and is widely praised for George Harrison's breakout contributions. The album cover is one of the most famous in music history, and is the final album the band recorded together. Number 1. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, 1967. Released on June 1st, 1967, the album reached number 1 in the UK for 23 consecutive weeks, and number 1 on the Billboard 200 for 15 weeks. It has sold over 32 million copies worldwide and is certified diamond in the US. The album topped charts in multiple countries, including Canada, Australia, and Germany. It won 4 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year, and was the first rock album to do so. It was voted greatest album of all time in multiple rankings and is inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. The album evolved studio recording and album production, influenced countless artists and genres including psychedelic rock, progressive rock, and concept albums. The Rolling Stones are one of the most influential and successful rock bands in history, with a discography that spans over 6 decades. Their albums have shaped the sound and attitude of rock and roll, blending blues, rock, and rebellious spirit into a powerful cultural force. Their early albums in the 1960s, like Out of Our Heads and Aftermath, helped define the British invasion, but it was their late 60s to early 70s period that cemented their legacy. Albums like Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile on Main Saint are widely regarded as rock masterpieces. The Rolling Stones albums have not only sold over 200 million copies worldwide, but have also influenced generations of musicians across rock, punk, blues, and even pop. Their ability to evolve with the times while maintaining a distinctive identity makes their catalog one of the most respected in rock history. Number 3. Exile on Main Saint, 1972. Released on May 12, 1972, the album sold over 2 million in the US and 6 million globally. It reached number 1 in the US and UK charts with notable tracks such as Tumbling Dice, Rocks Off, Happy and Shine a Light. The album was a double album blending rock, blues, gospel, and country, and praised for its raw sound. It ranked number 7 on Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. The album influenced countless artists from punk to alternative rock, and is a symbol of the Stones' peak as a rock band and cultural force. Number 2. Sticky Fingers, 1971. Released on April 23, 1971. The album reached number 1 in both the US and UK as well. It sold 3.5 million in the US and 7 million worldwide, with notable tracks such as Brown Sugar, Wild Horses, and Can't You Hear Me Knocking. It was the first album released on the Stones' own Rolling Stones records, with the famous tongue and lips logo. The album is known for its mix of rock, blues, and soul. It cemented their image as the bad boys of rock and roll. Number 1. Let It Bleed, 1969. Released 28th November 1969. The album reached number 1 in the UK and number 3 on the US Billboard 200. It has sold over 2.5 million copies in the US and is multi-platinum worldwide, with notable tracks such as Gimme Shelter, You Can't Always Get What You Want, and Midnight Rambler. The album marked a transition to darker, grittier rock with blues and country influences, and set the tone for 70s rock and the Stones' rebellious persona. When it comes to musical hits, few names echo louder than the Beatles. From the early days of Love Me Do to the groundbreaking sound of Hey Jude and the timeless magic of Let It Be, the Fab Four didn't just top the charts, they redefined them. The band has sold 600+ million singles worldwide, with total US singles sales exceeding 200 million. They have 20 number 1 hits on the US Billboard Hot 100, the most in history, with 34 top 10 hits, with 71 total Hot 100 entries, and they have 17 UK number 1 singles. Number 3. Yesterday, 1965. The song was released on September 13, 1965, and reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks. It sold over 12 million copies worldwide. It was named the most covered song in history with over 2,200 versions. It was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. The song marked a stylistic shift in Beatles music to more introspective and orchestral, and introduced Paul McCartney as a solo vocalist. Number 2, I Want to Hold Your Hand, 1963. Released in 1963 in the UK and 1964 in the US, the song reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 7 weeks, and number 1 in the UK and multiple countries. It sold over 12 million copies globally and was Capitol Records' first major Beatles release in the US. The song sparked the British invasion and launched Beatlemania in the US, and is considered one of the most influential singles in rock history. Number 1. Hey Jude, or 1968. Released on August 26, 1968, Hey Jude is the band's biggest hit. It climbed to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 9 weeks, and number 1 in the UK, Canada, Australia, and many other countries. The song sold 8 million copies worldwide and is the best-selling Beatles single in the US. It is famous for its extended sing-along Na 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 Coda and became a universal anthem of comfort and unity. The Rolling Stones' hits have played a crucial role in shaping rock music and popular culture for over 6 decades. Known for their raw energy, rebellious spirit, and blues-infused sound, the Stones created some of the most iconic songs in music history. Hits like Satisfaction, Paint It Black, and Sympathy for the Devil were not only massive commercial successes, topping charts around the world, but also helped define the voice of a generation. Their ability to evolve with the times while maintaining their signature style ensured their relevance across generations. Number 3. Start Me Up, 1981. Released August 14, 1981. The song reached number 2 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 7 on the UK, with sales of over 3 million copies worldwide. It is their last major chart hit and one of their most enduring anthems. The song was adopted by Microsoft for the Windows 95 campaign, leading to a massive mainstream boost, and is constantly used in sports, ads, and movies. It showcases their seamless transition into arena rock in the 80s. Number 2. Paint It Black, 1966. Released on May 7, 1966, the song reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 on the UK chart. With sales estimated at 5 million worldwide, the song pioneered Eastern influences in rock music and helped lay the groundwork for psychedelic rock. Its dark, introspective tone resonated with the Vietnam War era. It has been used in many TV shows and films, and remains one of their most streamed and covered songs ever. Number 1. Satisfaction, 1965. Released June 4, 1965, the song reached number 1 on the Billboard 100 in the UK charts, sold over 6 million copies worldwide, and widely considered the definitive Rolling Stones song. The famous fuzz-tone guitar riff by Keith Richards changed rock music forever. It was ranked number 2 on Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time and became a counterculture anthem in the 60s and remains iconic decades later. The Beatles' touring career spanned from 1960 to 1966, covering the UK, Europe, Asia, Australia, and North America. Their tours sparked global Beatlemania, breaking attendance records and pioneering stadium concerts. However, poor sound systems, crowd chaos, and growing artistic ambitions led them to stop touring in 1966, focusing instead on studio work that defined their legacy. Number 3. The Beatles' 1966 World Tour. The final tour ever and the one that changed everything. Taken in Germany, Japan, the Philippines, and the US, the tour was a chaotic one and filled with scandals such as the band was nearly attacked for unintentionally snubbing the First Lady of the Philippines, and they fled the country in chaos. In America, Lennon's "We're more popular than Jesus" comment caused protests, boycotts, and record burnings. Although it was financially successful, it was emotionally draining and risky, and it marked the end of the Beatles as a touring band. Number 2. The Beatles' 1964 North American Tour. Played in America and Canada, the tour lasted over 30 days with 25 shows in 24 cities, with total revenue estimated over $1 million. The show was the first major wave of Beatlemania in North America, with wall-to-wall national press and TV coverage, and huge crowds waiting at airports and hotels causing mass hysteria. The tour cemented their dominance in the American market and turned them into global icons and made US rock tours a must for any British act. Number 1. The Beatles' 1965 U.S. Tour. The show took place over 2 weeks in 10 cities across the United States. With a record-breaking attendance at the time of 55,000 people, the show was the first ever major stadium rock concert and set the precedent for large-scale stadium concerts. The Rolling Stones have embarked on dozens of groundbreaking tours since the 1960s, becoming pioneers of global stadium rock. Known for their electrifying performances, massive crowds, and longevity, their tours like Voodoo Lounge, A Bigger Bang, and No Filter set records in revenue and scale, cementing their status as one of the greatest live acts in music history. Number 3. Steel Wheels Urban Jungle Tour, 1989-1990. The tour was the first tour after a 7-year break, and seen as a comeback and reunion of Jagger and Richards. He brought in $175 million with over 6 million people across 115 shows. The tour pioneered the modern rock stadium tour format with massive stage production and corporate sponsorship, and cemented their status as not just rock icons but business powerhouses. Number 2. Voodoo Lounge Tour, 1994-1995. The tour was the first tour without bassist Bill Wyman and marked the start of the Stones as a touring machine in the modern era. The tour brought in $320 million, with over 6 million people across 124 shows. The tour supported the Grammy-winning Voodoo Lounge album and won the 1995 Billboard Touring Award and was the biggest tour of the 1990s. Number 1, A Bigger Bang Tour, 2005-2007. The tour set the record for the highest-grossing tour at that time, with $558 million, with over 4 million people across 147 shows. The tour included a free concert in Rio de Janeiro attended by an estimated 1.5 million fans, one of the largest concerts in history, and proved that a band in their 60s could still dominate the global stage. The Beatles have won 7 Grammy Awards, with notable wins including Album of the Year for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Best New Artist, and Best Performance by a Vocal Group for A Hard Day's Night. They have also won numerous Brit, American, and MTV Video Music Awards. They have also won an Oscar for Best Original Song Score for Let It Be. Their film, The Beatles, Get Back, won an Emmy for Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Series. The Beatles are the best-selling music group of all time, with over 600 million records sold globally. They hold the record for most #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 with 20 songs, and the record for most #1 albums on the Billboard 200 with 19 albums. They have the most weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. They are the first group to hold the top 5 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 simultaneously. They have the most #1 albums in UK history with 15 albums, and most consecutive #1 albums with 7, and most #1 singles by a group in the UK, and many other records worldwide. They are inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, both as a group and individually, and into the Grammy Hall of Fame with multiple songs and albums. The Rolling Stones have won 3 Grammy Awards, including Best Rock Album for Voodoo Lounge and a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1986. They have won 4 Brit Awards, including Outstanding Contribution to Music and an Icon Award in 2018. The band has sold over 240 million records worldwide. They are the first band to score #1 albums in 6 consecutive decades between the years 1960s to 2020s. They have 13 #1 albums on the Billboard 200. 8 albums appear in Billboard's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. They have 8 #1 hits on the Billboard 100, with 23 top 10 hits, and 8 #1 hits on the UK chart as well, with over 40 top 10 hits, and numerous #1 albums in the UK, only behind the Beatles. The Rolling Stones inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the UK Music Hall of Fame, and the Grammy Hall of Fame. Few names in music history echo with the force of the Beatles. What began as a group of young lads from Liverpool evolved into a global phenomenon that redefined what popular music could be and what it could mean. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr were more than just a band. They were the sound of a generation coming alive and the spark that ignited a cultural revolution. From their early days playing basement clubs in Hamburg and Liverpool to the explosion of Beatlemania in the UK and then across the globe, their rise was meteoric, but their influence would prove to be everlasting. Musically, the Beatles tore down boundaries. They were pioneers in songwriting, production, and experimentation. Albums like Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and The White Album didn't just top charts, they shattered expectations. They fused rock with Indian music, psychedelia with baroque pop, and mainstream appeal with avant-garde daring. Each record marked an evolution, not only of the band but of pop culture itself. The legacy of the Rolling Stones is one of the most powerful and enduring in rock history. Formed in 1962, they helped define the sound, style, and spirit of rock and roll. With Mick Jagger's charismatic stage presence, Keith Richards' gritty guitar riffs, and a rebellious image, the Stones became symbols of counterculture, youth rebellion, and musical innovation. They were pioneers of the stadium tour, turning live rock shows into massive global events. Their longevity is unmatched with a career spanning over 6 decades, and they've influenced countless artists across generations and genres. Beyond the music, their cultural impact is vast. They redefined celebrity, fashion, and the boundaries of mainstream expression. Known as the world's greatest rock and roll band, the Rolling Stones didn't just follow trends, they created them. Their legacy is not just about music, but about changing what rock could be and how far it could go. And while the Rolling Stones have undeniably carved out one of the greatest legacies in rock history, with unmatched longevity, electrifying live performances, and massive influence on generations of artists, there's no denying the towering impact of the Beatles. When it comes to record sales, chart-topping hits, global reach, and cultural influence, the Beatles simply stand in a league of their own. They didn't just break records, they set the standard for what a band could achieve, musically and historically. So while both bands helped shape modern music, in this showdown, the title goes to the Beatles, the biggest band the world has ever seen. Do you agree with the winner? And which artist careers would you like to see compared next?